welcome to the show, White Collar Criminals. Tonight, we have a very special feature for you. It takes place right here in the state of Connecticut, in the town of Greenwich, one of the state's most richest and luxurious towns. It's the case of Martin Frankel. We'll discuss how he established his criminal activity, how he lived his life until he eventually got caught by the FBI. Sometimes you never know the real person behind the gates until the whole house comes crumbling down.
Well, you see, we were the first ones on the scene. As first responders to any fire call in the Greenwich, Connecticut area, we just had expected another fire. Possible caused by a cigarette someone forgot to put out, or even a faulty electrical wire. Not one of us, not one expected what we were about to stumble upon.
The Greenwich, Connecticut Fire Department was about to come across an intentional act of arson with the sole purpose to destroy evidence of financial fraud. This is the story of a financial criminal that conned his way into the pocketbooks of many Americans, ultimately causing millions of dollars of losses. It wasn't until this day, May 6, 1999, that this world would come crashing down and his scheme would be uncovered. It all began in Toledo, Ohio, a small town in the Midwest where Frankel grew up. He was known as quiet and studious and extremely ambitious. His family was middle class and certainly did not emphasize the importance of money or wealth, which was something that Frankel would later discover on his own. So we're here in Toledo, Ohio, where Martin Frankel grew up. We're in his neighborhood now. As you look around, there's kids coming home from school. It's not very a lavish neighborhood. It's quite little homey and smaller houses, as opposed to the mansion and the rich lifestyle that Martin Frankel will transition into later on. We're hoping to see if we could talk to some of his neighbors, see if we can get a character reference to see how he was when growing up. Actually, there's a lady here right now. Excuse me, miss? Are you from this neighborhood at all?
Yeah, I grew up here.
We're hoping to speak with you about the Frankel family. They lived in this neighborhood. Did you know them at all growing up?
Yeah, I went to elementary school and junior high with the boy.
Can you give us an idea of how Martin Frankel was, the son, when growing up?
I mean, he was quiet. He always kept to himself. Kids would bully him a little in gym class and stuff. But
he was mostly quiet, kept to himself?
Yeah, he was a nice boy. He always did his homework, and I don't know. There was something weird about that house and the family, but I don't know. I mean, when the news broke about him, I never
Were you
expected
surprised?
that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he was one of those nerdy boys. I mean, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you for your time.
No problem.
I first met Frankel in 1985. My wife and I were working as stockbrokers in Toledo, Ohio. One day, Frankel walked into our consulting firm and said he was interested in trading. So we came into our office the day after that, and I gave him a shot. He even told my wife that he had inside knowledge and that he could be an asset to our firm. I actually set him up in a closet where he ended up working for long hours, and he was supposedly working on trading ideas for us. However, he never ended up coming up with any results, so after 6 months, we unfortunately had to let him go. After getting fired by Schulte, Frankel decided to start his own business. Created in his parents' home was the infamous Frankel Fund. Knowing he needed clients and investors, he came across a local Toledo couple, John and Shirley Hurley. With the promise of great returns, he charmed his way into the couple's retirement fund.
We had no idea what Frankel was up to. He seemed like such a smart man. With extensive knowledge of the stocks, never in a million years did my wife and I expect the results to be so detrimental to ourselves and others. We gave him all of our money, $360,000. This is an act of pure greed.
Shortly after gaining his first investor, Frankel knew he needed more clients. He ventured down to the wealthy town of Palm Beach, Florida, a place where it's warm year-round and the money always flows. How are you? Thanks for speaking with us about the Frankel case today. How are you?
Hi, Joanne Dooley, FBI. Nice to meet you. Frankel knew exactly what he was doing. He was able to land more than 10 investors within months. These people included some of the wealthiest, including an oil tycoon, Queen of Romania.
Oh wow, so there's some high-value clients.
Yeah, I mean, Frankel wouldn't exactly invest the money. He almost had severe anxiety when it came to trading stocks, even though he spent endless hours perfecting strategies. However, he would never actually put money into the stocks. He would pick up more money, more clients for an inflow of money for him to use. He would then send out fraudulent statements showing ideal returns to the clients so that they wouldn't question him.
Oh wow. Things started to fall apart for Frankel, and one of the investors asked for his money back. Of course, Frankel had been taking all the investments and living lavishly off these people's hard-earned money. The original investors from Ohio, the Hurleys, got quite concerned with the fact that statements stopped coming. They immediately hired lawyers and took the facts to the Securities Exchange Commission.
At some point, we had no other choice but to bring all of our information to the authorities. If he was scamming us, we needed to be aware of it and figure out how to proceed.
After being summoned to the Security Exchange Commissioner's office and being questioned for some time, Frankel admitted to everything. There were no criminal proceedings in this matter. However, the Hurleys received a settlement of an undisclosed amount. This setback didn't halt his future in illegal trading schemes, though. At some point, Frankel went back to his hometown in Ohio, where he came up with the idea of creative partners. He went around locally handing out brochures about his investment firm and managed to receive dozens of investors totaling to $14 million.
Things started to fall apart for Frankel when investors asked for their returns. The fraudulent statements weren't enough for these investors. Frankel needed an escape. He looked to the insurance business. He proceeded by buying small insurance companies to use their reserves. This enabled him to pay back investors and buy himself some time.
Within 5 years, he bought 8 insurance companies throughout the South. This enabled Frankel to keep his scheme going and live off the reserves. Between the insurance companies and the investors, his fake company was worth almost $200 million. Flowing with cash, Frankel decided to move to Greenwich, Connecticut, a town known for money and luxury. The years of scamming innocent people out of their money was paying off. Frankel became fascinated with a different lifestyle. This included over dozens of cars, private planes, and multiple women at his disposal.
So we're here from White Collar Criminals, here to talk to you about your time with Martin Frankel. Can you first start off by telling us your name?
Svetlana Kharvish.
And how were you involved with Martin Frankel?
I lived with him. I met him online. That's how it started. And he sent a private plane. I was living in Russia at the time. And he sent a private plane to Russia to get me. And it was almost like he had promised me a better life. He was going to be my husband and all this stuff. And I get there and there's like 15, 20 women living in his house. And I had a choice. I could either leave or I could stay, and, he had money, and, I'm not proud of it, but it got weird.
So would you describe the house and the living conditions almost as if like a brothel or a harem?
I mean, yes, I guess. I wouldn't want to admit that, but it's true. I mean, he never left the house. We left. He would give us an allowance, and, each day it was almost like a schedule of who could leave the house, who had the car, who could go shopping. And, it was kind of lived day to day. And he wasn't a nice man. He was generous, so people stayed. At one point, a girl even killed herself. And, what did he do? Nothing. He just, kept living the same way with these girls. He would bring more and more girls from all over the Far East, Russia, Ukraine, I mean, I'm not proud of it, but, he paid for everything. And it was money and, a new life, but...
While Frankel was out living his luxurious life, the insurance commissioners down in the South were getting suspicious of his company, Creative Partners.
We were getting concerned. Frankel was never around, so we asked him to come down to Mississippi to meet with us. He was very hesitant to come and ultimately bailed on our meeting.
Knowing that his scheme was falling apart, Frankel looked for a way out. Using the Catholic Church as a front, he created a fake charity. It would further prevent questioning and create a sense of credibility. He created a charity and called it the St. Francis Foundation to serve and help the poor and alleviate suffering. He acquired help from the churches by promising that profits from his insurance companies would be donated to the church.
At this point, Frankel thought with all of his charity work, he could finally come down to Mississippi and meet with us. This only made us more skeptical of his company. Frankel and his frontman ventured down south to meet with the insurance commissioners. The meeting went awry. The insurance company had caught on to his scheme as he wasn't providing the necessary paperwork or information about his company, Creative Partners. This led the insurance commissioners to take over his company. Living in fear, Frankel returned to Greenwich in order to burn every document he possessed as well as plot his escape.
Frankel's world came crumbling down on May 6, 1999. Local police and fire departments were called to an enormous fire at his estate in Greenwich. When searching the property and the house, they found evidence of his fraudulent company and scheme. We got wind that Frankel had left the country on a private plane heading to Rome. Although U.S. authorities couldn't apprehend him abroad, we notified Italian police of his whereabouts immediately.
Frankel managed to stay one step ahead of the Italian police. He decided to venture to Germany in late 1999 and eventually was apprehended by German authorities. He was charged with possession of a fake passport, and it wasn't until 2001 that he was finally extradited to the United States. A year later, Frankel pled guilty to over 24 counts of racketeering, securities fraud, wire fraud, and conspiracy. He was convicted to 16 years and 8 months in federal prison, and this ran concurrent to the sentence he received in Tennessee on the same charges.
Got 99 problems, but, bitch ain't one.